Hey, what's up, Instagram? How's it going? It is Greg here at Fisherman's Headquarters, checking in, say what's up. Wanted to run a couple things by you guys, give you a little update here at the shop, and hopefully we'll have a special guest in a couple minutes. So just wanted to first and foremost say I just updated the LBI Fishing Report blog page. If anybody's looking for a fishing report for the Central Jersey area, check it out, fishinglbi.com. If you want a couple little lowdown pointers of what's happening, basically coming off of the early May full moon here, got a lot of things starting up. Fishing starting to kick into high gear. There's striped bass around, there's bluefish around, blowfish. Fluke doesn't open until May 22nd, but there's plenty of them being caught right now. There's also some black drum. So if you want to check out some details on that, log on there, fishinglbi.com. Check it out. If you can, leave a comment on the blog page and share some love. If you guys have been fishing, feel free to send some messages. Super happy, super stoked, and grateful for all of our customers that send us messages every day, tagging us in things, showing us a good time and how they're using their products and saying thank you, hey, got a fish, and sharing that stuff. So really appreciate that. One of the things I wanted to also talk about was, if you weren't aware, there was a pretty gnarly shipwreck up on the north end of Long Beach Island Wednesday night. A vessel, the Bay of Isles, was supposedly navigating down from New York, and it was a nighttime kind of issue. I don't know if it was mechanical failure. It was an old boat. Possibly that's my assumption. Maybe it had to do with navigation, error. But they basically missed the inlet by, I don't know, say 50, 60 yards and went on the south side of the South Jetty. So that's the Long Beach Island side of Barnegat Inlet. And if anybody's familiar with the area, there's a section of rocks there, which is the actual old South Jetty from before they built the new one. So they ended up getting right up on top of that rock pile, hung up high and dry. So if any of you guys have seen the photos, awesome. If you saw it, it's cool. But obviously it's a major misfortune, total bummer that it occurred. But once it happened, you might as well take advantage of the situation, take some pretty cool photos. I decided to take a hike out there Thursday morning. I got a call from a couple anglers. One of them is Steve George, Night Strikes. Shout out to him if anybody's looking for a surf fishing guide to kind of learn some areas, learn some techniques. You can take your fishing level to up a notch by spending some time with Steve. You should give him a call. But he called me up and said, hey man, got a couple fish up here, but I also have something cooler to share. Check out this photo. There's this shipwreck. Come check it out. So I had dad duty, and I figured I'd pack up the boy, and me and him took a hike up there on the dunes and launched the drone and flew around and got some footage. So if anyone wants to see that, check out our YouTube page. You could probably also search LBI Shipwreck, Bay of Isles. I think it was the title I made it. But it's also on the previous Fishing LBI blog post. So if you hop on there and check that out, you will see some pretty cool photos I took, and also some drone video. I made like a little bit of a collage, added some pirate music to it. I think it turned out pretty cool. Thank you, Professor Fishhead says, sick drone pics, appreciate it. When I got the call that it was going down, I looked outside and said, what temperature is it? Do I need warmer clothes? Am I cool in shorts? And I wanted to make sure the boy was dressed properly. And when I saw the flag was dead, I said, oh man, the drone's coming for this one. This is going to be cool. So I was actually happy. Talked to the Coast Guard guys for a little bit. That's where I got some of this intel about where they came from, what was going on. And they actually were pretty stoked that I had the drone. I thought at first they were going to say, get lost. You're not supposed to fly a drone in state parks. But they said, hey man, you mind, sending us some photos? Can I get some of some of that footage? So that was pretty cool. Super happy you guys saw some stuff. I'm seeing some comments flying in here. Really appreciate, kind of the love and you guys checking out that stuff. I stayed up just like burning the midnight oil last night, kind of cutting it all, putting it together. I didn't want to, a lot of times I'll do stuff, I'll put it, get the footage and I forget to put it together until like weeks later and it's kind of like dated then. So I really wanted to like go head on with it and knock it out. So basically I wanted to talk about Fish Report, the shipwreck, and we just bumped up our hours a little bit. Still with the uncertainty with the COVID, we can't go back to our usual hours, which is like 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. Almost every day. So that's just kind of, we can't do it right now. It's just restraints on business processes and what's going on in the town. So we stretched out to like 7 to 7. We'll see how that goes. Obviously, we're getting to mid-May. The fishing's heating up. I know people want to get out early. People want to get out late. We're fine to try to accommodate our customers the best we can. You know, feel free to call us up the day before and say, hey, can you leave me bait out? I'm fishing tonight at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Maybe you're coming at 3, 4 in the morning. You need some tackle, something. You know, we got a pretty big property. We can stash things in different nooks and crannies. We can have multiple customers with different things in different places. We thought about doing a lockbox. It's still something kind of going in the back of my head, but there's so many different projects going on. We're not really going to jump into that for some time. I'm not sure, Jeffy, Real Innovations, dude, if you're on here, man, give me a wave or a comment. Maybe we could try to get you on here, and we can talk a little about fishing. Anybody who doesn't know, Captain Jeff Warford is a longtime friend of myself, longtime friend of the shop, hardcore saltwater angler. He runs the Real Innovation Sportfishing. Real Innovation, hold on one second, I'm just accepting his live. Real Innovation is a Viking out of Harvey Cedar. He's a great guy. He does a lot of inshore fishing, offshore fishing, and everything in between. From blowfish to tuna to sharks to swordfish, striped bass. I mean, if you look back, go on our Instagram, make sure you give him a follow. Real Innovation Sportfishing, a follow. Jeffy!
Here you go.
What's up, brother? How we doing, man? Good evening.
How's it going, bud?
Good, man. Thanks for joining us, bro. Thank you.
No problem, no problem.
So I just gave you a shout a little bit ago and said, hey, bro, you game to jump on. So I was kind of short notice. I appreciate it. So how's your day going? All right? Doing good?
Yeah, everything's good.
Cool, man. So I wanted to talk to you, bro, and ask you, a couple things, like what you're thinking right now. I know that, you've been kind of gearing up for the season. I know you kind of poked out there offshore, took a look out there, whatever, it was a week or two ago, way early, but you're just saying, hey, let me go see what I can find. Like, what's your expectations? What's your game plan? You heading offshore anytime soon?
Yeah, I mean, weather's not cooperating with us whatsoever right now. Everybody's kind of chomping at the bit to go out there, take a look. Water's still a little cold, still early. But, we're ready to go looking. Unfortunately, the jet stream isn't looking the best right now. It's real flat. You got a little spin-off down south, just below Norfolk. It looks like we might get some rotation coming in, pushing in.
Nice.
But besides that, up here, it's, the stream's real flat right now. We still got 49, 50-degree water from
cold
20 miles out to the canyon. It's not so much of a big deal for the bluefins. They're going to make their migratory run regardless of what the water temperatures are. But, as far as the canyon fishing, the yellowfin fishing, the big eyes, we still got some time to go,
Cool.
It's not, the stream doesn't look much different than what it did last year. Last year the first bluefins really started right around May 15th. So we're still a week shy of that. So I still have high hopes, but
is that what you're looking for first, man? You gotta set your sights on some inshore, midshore bluefin?
Absolutely. The whole month of May, first week of June, it's going to be all bluefin fishing for sure.
And then when do you start looking for the makos and such? They're getting into the sharking game.
You really need that 60-degree water. As soon as we get that first push of water to come into the bank, where it gets 60 degrees, the makos are going to be in there. The bluefins are going to be in there. The first water we get on the bank, regardless of where it is going to have fish in it this time of year.
Get ready. It's almost game time.
Yeah, that's for
sure.
sure.
Yeah. Cool.
That's for sure. Boat's all ready. We're ready. Crew's ready. Boat owners ready.
Sweet.
I think the rest of the fishing industry is ready at this point.
Yeah, everybody's chomping at the bit, man, to get out there. I know that's why I was stoked to hear you ran, whatever it was, a week or so ago. It's like you don't hear anybody going, but hey, you had the weather, you might as well go and take a look, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've been trying to go again for the last 3 weeks, and we just can't get a weather window. We were supposed to go Wednesday, Thursday of this week, and 4 days ago they were calling for 3 knots of wind, and it turned into 20 to 30 knots of wind.
Yeah.
It's just that type of game this time of year.
Cool, cool. So I don't see many questions coming in. Anybody's got questions, fire 'em at us if it's for Jeffy or myself.
Professor
So
Fishhead says use windy.com for temp breaks.
question mark.
Question mark. I use Terrafin. Um, Rip Charts is also good. I've used Rip Charts in the past. But to get a general idea, I use Ruckers. It's free service. Anybody can log on to it. So I use, Ruckers to get a general idea. Hey, there's an eddy coming in. There's water pushing in. And then I use Rip Charts or Terrafin to fine tune it.
So just to go one step further, man, what are you looking for in there? Are you just don't look at it like it's a Picasso or something. You're looking for the breaks. You're looking for the spin-offs. What catches your eye and says, hey, man, I'm heading in that direction.
This time of year, you're looking for any kind of water pushing off the stream. So, this time of year, any water that's 58, 60-degree water, you're gung ho, you're going to it. It's game on.
Okay.
During the summertime, water starts to get blended. You're looking for the eddies, and you're looking for that blue water.
Cool, cool. So John says, let's hear some sword tips. You got like maybe one sword tip or two sword tips you could throw out?
Sword tips. I could talk sword fishing all night.
Let's do it.
Oh man, last year was a year to be reckoned with the swordfish. It started. My first sword trip last year was, I think, July 7th. And my first trip, we were 6 for 10. So it was early and it was game on, and that wasn't the first day they showed up. I can guarantee you that. And it was on from then through November. It was just phenomenal sword fishing last year.
You got some big ones too.
Yeah. We didn't get any mooses, but it was good fishing.
Cool, cool. He says that's what I was hoping. Got my first last year, looking for more. So John, I'm super stoked you're getting into the swords.
So the swords you're looking for, you really need that first eddy to come in. That first eddy coming into the bank's going to bring them fish in. Once the eddy comes in, even if the eddy rolls down, them fish are still going to stay on the structure. So, you really need that first eddy to come in. And, even if that eddy comes into the Linden Coal and then bounces down to the Wilmington, the canyons in between, the Lindy, the Spencer, you can still catch swords in them because, swords 90% of the time are living down in the bottom, 900, 1,500 foot of water. So the eddy's what's bringing them in, but the structure's what's keeping them there.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So let's see, you got any other questions here? Just scroll back a little bit. It's kind of good that some of these questions are coming in.
Somebody's saying, Greg, you're selling your boat. What's the next rig?
Oh man, so it might be going down. So a 25-20 Parker came about, so I can't turn out a good offer. So I'm going to try to step up. It might not be the most I don't know, say perfect boat for me right now, but I think in a few years it will be. So I want to make the jump now while the opportunity is there. So yeah, to answer that question, short and sweet, that's it. Fathom Fishing Charters said bait for bluefin, or I guess technique for bluefin, troll and chunk and plug. And I'm going to just take this real quick and say any of the three. I mean, my favorite's chunking personally. I love chunking. Plugging can sometimes be awesome when they're up top, casting on them. It can be fun. Sometimes the run and gun kind of gets frustrating when multiple boats start getting in there. Obviously, jigging's a blast, but unless the bite's on fire, it's a whole lot of work. I mean, we had some great times, you and I together, Jeff, fishing with you, chunking up tuna, whether they're small ones or big ones. And it's just, to me, it's a lot of fun, whether you're on the hook or drifting and just, slinging baits, whether it's live baits or chunk baits and light line, just kind of free line in the chum slick and, just catching fish after fish, kind of a little, almost like a fire drill, running around the boat. And it's always fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest part to that question is the time of year. Basically June, middle of July, you're jigging these fish, you're trolling them, you're casting poppers to them on top water. The chunking really doesn't start until they come in and they're tuned in on the structure and the bait. That's typically not till the end of July, August, September is real good. That's when you're chunking them, you're getting them in a slick, they're actively feeding on the bait. But early season, you're, what's Carter Rock saying? Jeff, what's your favorite drink?
Hey, man, you gotta stay keto.
Nah, it's not White Claw tonight. It's Coors Light tonight, buddy.
Coors Light's not keto, dude. So another one came in. Labs had said striped bass around. If you check out fishinglbi.com, like I said before, I just posted an update there. There's definitely striped bass around. There's some big fish in the Delaware River. There's some big fish up in the Raritan Bay, and there's some nice fish starting to show up right here on the beach of the LBI. I saw a nice fish that was caught today on the troll out front in the ocean. There's a photograph up there. It was on a bunker spoon. There's also plenty of smaller schoolie fish in the bay, and there's also some fish being caught off the surf. So as far as an answer for that striped bass around, I would say for sure. And it's only getting better as we kind of roll into May here. Let me just see if there's any other questions here. So, dude, I don't see any other questions. So one of the things I was going to ask you, you kind of dropped like a tip or two, on there. But in terms of, like, say, like somebody's a beginner, and let's say they have a friend that has a boat or a relative that has a boat, or maybe they just bought a boat. What's like the one most important tip? Like, if you it's this huge world of, say, offshore fishing, and there's different seminars that you could talk about different techniques for days and hours and hours and days, and obviously it takes you years and decades to really hone your craft and dial in and learn. And I know you learn from other captains, you learn from friends and stuff like that, and learn from just grinding and putting time in. But if there's like one thing you could say, like, hey, as a new offshore angler, and maybe it's not just offshore, maybe it's saltwater in general, there's one thing, like, could you say, like, hey man, focus on this, and this is going to get you to that bigger picture to kind of up your game?
I mean, it's a pretty big general question, but
well, what's helped you? Is there one thing you could say that's helped you?
There's no denying that the biggest part of the offshore fishing is your network.
The big ocean, right?
It's a very big ocean, and specifically the last 3 years, the fish are here one day, they're gone the next. So you really have to have that network to know where you need to be. In 2014, 2015, even back 2012, when you had it was Big Eye Central, you knew where the big eyes were. They were in the notch, the northeast notch of every canyon, the Wilmington, the Linden Cole, the Hudson. You knew you had to be there from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. and it was game on. And, now we're kind of seeing a different breed of big eyes where, in those earlier years, you were seeing the, 140 to 240 class big eye. They lived on the structure. Now you're seeing a different class big eye of that, 80 to 120 class, and they're in the water. And that water, a lot of times, isn't on the structure. So sometimes you're 10 miles over the bank, and, you might get wolf packed with them where you're getting 9 hookups at a time, but go back there the next day and try to repeat that, and it's not going to happen. So,
Frustrating, right?
yeah, it is. But, the biggest thing is to, not chase reports, but come up with a group of guys, core guys that you can network with that, they're fishing once a week, twice a week, and you guys can come up with a game plan and kind of say, hey, this guy struck out here, this guy did good here, he was in this water, and now this water moved from the Lindy down to the Spencer, and now, you can kind of come up with a game plan of where you need to be.
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense for sure. So that was definitely some awesome insight, awesome suggestions. So another question came in. Says outboard diesel. What raises tuna better in your opinion? An outboard or a diesel? Do you have anything? I mean, you fish your World Cat, which you got,
You
outboard.
know, I I started fishing in my World Cat's 27 foot. It's got twin Honda 225s on it. Caught plenty of big eyes on it. Definitely doesn't raise fish like a diesel does. You know, the spread has a lot to do with it. With a diesel boat, typically you're a much bigger boat. You got a much bigger spread. Um, if you asked me, let's pick Moorhead, North Carolina, for instance, giant bluefin fishing. You go down there with a diesel boat, you're striking out compared to what these center consoles are doing. You're fishing, 50, the 100 foot of water, and these outboards are just out fishing these diesel boats. But when you go into the canyon fishing, you're just not going to compete with a diesel boat. The harmonics that the diesel's throwing just raises those fish, from, you know, 200 feet, you'll get them up to 50 foot. And it's just a fact of it, but it's not meaning you're not going to catch, you're definitely going to catch with gas engines. You're just not going to, you know, do as well as a diesel boat's going to do that's pulling dredges, throwing the harmonics in, and that sort of thing.
Awesome, cool. Thank you for spreading that knowledge. So speaking of spreading knowledge, do you want to share anything about a spread? Maybe like what's your go-to big eye spread? Is that too top secret? Maybe we talk about something else.
There is no top secret anymore, buddy. There's no top secrets. It all depends, If I'm yellowfin fishing, um, I'm pulling a lot more sterling bars. I'm pulling, islanders with smaller, medium ballyhoos. I'm pulling daisy chains. I'm pulling bird chains. If I'm big eye fishing, I'm pulling Magitail, bucktail, 3 ounce with a ballyhoo. It's just, it all depends what I'm targeting and what the fish are into. 2 years ago, the big guys were all over bars. I was Sterling bars were my go-to. In 2015, I didn't pull a single bar the entire year. Every fish I caught was, with a shoot head and a belly.
It's crazy how fishing switches like that. And you
Yeah,
see the same thing inshore too. The fish are sometimes keyed in, one season on this, and next season they're on that. And, who knows what it's all about. But it seems like it always goes on like that. One year it's one thing, next year it's not, and it's
yeah,
fishing's kind of weird like that. You got to, like you said, you got to network and stay on top of your game.
yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you about, man, is Real Innovation obviously is a boat. You're a professional captain fishing hard on the vessel. Your Viking, but it's also a tackle manufacturing company, and I see you guys are coming out with some really cool stuff. I'm not sure anybody following along knows, but there's an automatic chunking device. Like a hopper that you put chunk baits in, and it automatically deploys or kicks that bait in the water and chums for you. Another thing you guys are doing is those outrodders, and I know you got some new products coming down the pipeline. Is there something there you want to share, like in terms of like that new product, or maybe talk about one of the classic products? Like I know at one time we talked, as you said, you saw like this need, because you're fishing all the time and using outrodders for trolling bunker spoons for bass, and saw a need that there was not an outrigger that you really love. You said, hey, I can kind of think this up, and obviously, Alon with the mastermind he is, kind of put his mind to it and the right people's minds, and came up with the world's best outrigger. That ratcheting outrigger that you guys offer. Is there anything you want to share about that or talk about?
Yeah. So 2 years ago, the guy I work for, Alon, he's a manufacturer, diehard fisherman. He's the owner of the 58 Viking that I run. So he came up with the idea of an automatic chunker. So, through trial and error and many different prototypes, we finally came out with the Mr. Chunker, which is a smartphone-driven automated chunking machine. So what it is, it's everything's made out of anodized aluminum, stainless steel, holds up to the elements. There's no bullshit about it. It's not going to fail. It's not going to rust out on you. So the chunker holds 1.5 flats of cut bait, whether it's butterfish, sardines, herring, whatever you put in it. It's got a stainless steel auger in it, and it's smartphone driven. So there's an app in the app store that you get, and you can control the speed. You can tell it to throw 3 chunks every 15 seconds. You can tell it to throw 10 chunks every minute. There's a fish on button, so you're into a hot bite. You're not concerned about your mate throwing chunks. You hit the fish on button, and now it's going to throw. You can set it to throw 3 times the amount of chunks that you were normally set throwing. You can tell it to do that duration for half an hour, 20 minutes. It's really a great product.
Next level.
Actually
stuff,
sold
bro.
2 this week. I mean,
It's next stuff.
Yeah, the guys are really starting to get geared up, and somebody said, "Nice beard, bro."
That's so funny, Eddie. He's out in Cali, loving life. The bastard drives out to Cali, never comes home, dude.
And last fall, we came out with the Real Innovation Outrider, which really has revolutionized bunker spoon trolling for the striper guys. If you haven't checked it out, just go to Fisherman's Headquarters website and check out the Real Innovation Outrider. It's bulletproof. I mean, I trolled this thing for pulling my Sterling tracker side trackers. Instead of using my short rigger, I don't even use a short rigger. I pull them out of there, out of the rod holder. It adds another rod to your spread. You get an extra flat line with them. They're guaranteed for 30 pounds of drag, so more than efficient for tuna fishing. We caught a blue marlin on them last year, and thing dumped a 50 with 20 pounds of drag, no sweat whatsoever. So if you haven't checked them out, you should check them out. They're incredible.
Yeah, I'll definitely second that, man. You there was a point in time where you said, hey, man, use these and don't wash them, get them salty, fish the hell out of them. I mean, I had no problems, man. I caught a bunch of fish. I wasn't doing the sharking game, the tuna game like you and some of your other guys that you had tested them, but I was just fishing inshore for stripers, and it's so convenient. I got a client on the kind of on the gunnel, and just, hey, grab that handle, swing that rod up, and just crank it. And I mean, I was fishing. A lot of times when you're clearing rods, you don't have to take the rod out of the rod holder. You got the lanyard on there, just lift it up. It's in a vertical fashion. Crank that up, clear it, and then I was actually leaving the rod in the whole outriggers, moving the whole thing. And then obviously when you hook up, you can unclip and take them out. But super user friendly, man. Super
Yeah, I
strong.
mean,
Super
all the
durable.
charters I did that last fall, 8 out of 10 guys never took the rod out of the rod holder. They
Yeah.
tilt it up to 90 degrees and they just fight the fish right out of the rod holder. I mean,
Dude,
especially
it's nice.
wire line fishing, that's a hell of a lot of wire to reel back in.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's awesome because for me on my boat, I got somewhat lower gunnels, and it puts that reel like kind of right where you want it to be comfortable for you. So I'm definitely stoked with it, man. Like I said, used them a ton. I mean, I probably got at least 50 days on them, and major fan, dude. And I'll be honest, dude, I don't even take care of them. I throw them up in the front hatch of my boat in this little console up there. I mean, I give a light rinse down when I'm washing the boat, but I leave them up there, man. They're holding up really good.
Yeah,
So definitely shout out to the Real Innovation Outriders. And be looking for a rock solid ratcheting outrodder. Awesome product.
yeah. Stay tuned. We got a bunker spoon coming out this spring. It's going to blow your mind. it's
So I guess the cat's out of the bag now, huh?
it's the
That's
real
cool.
deal. It's the
So I
real
remember,
deal.
yeah, I
I don't
remember.
want to say too much about it until we do the release, but it's interchangeable weights. It's the real deal. It's going to be a whole new revolutionizing the whole bunker spoon action.
Hell yeah, yeah. I was stoked when we went out for that cruise there at the end of last year and took one for a spin or a couple for a spin. We were testing out some weights and they definitely were swimming super sexy. So I'm excited, man. I can't wait to see these things.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just going back a couple messages here, seeing what's going on. Professor Fishhead says outrodders are insane. So that's awesome. We're getting some feedback on those. Um, MKV Mikey says, any tips for getting into tuna fishing, running a small 20-foot? Always wanted to try it out of Barnegat Light. I mean, I would say, man, you just got to pick your days right. Make sure your stuff's in order. Safety's got to be your number one concern when you're pushing offshore. Personal opinion, 20-footer. I run a Parker 21 right now. I don't think it's really like the boat for like that midshore game. There's definitely some nice days you can get out to say the ridge and stuff. I mean, I ran my boat to the Reezer a couple times. It's definitely, it's definitely common to get a good south wind in the afternoons. Just be careful on a 20-footer. It's definitely obviously as long as it's seaworthy, do your thing, but just be safe. As far as tips, man, be safe. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the, the bluefin do come in short. I mean, they do come in that 20-mile range, and you know, it's normally that June time frame is when they come in shore. And then again in the fall time in November and December is when they really push inshore, that 5 to 15 mile range where you can run and gun them. But like Greg said, pick your weather days.
Yeah, I guess since you mentioned it, I mean, we do get that shot in. I normally think of it as around Thanksgiving, where you get that inshore section, of water that's somewhat rich with bait. The sand eels kind of get stacked in there, and those bluefin are making their move. Maybe they're eating the smaller bluefish that are around. Maybe they're eating sand eels or bunker or whatever they're doing. You always hear of a couple guys that get kind of have a spooling. The guys that are fishing the 3 mile line for bass get spooled, and they come in close. There's a couple years where the fishing can be really good. I caught some nice fish, a number of years back. But definitely, I would say a 20-footer, man. Look for that. Just to give you a little more insight, check out the ridge, like Ollie's Lump, stuff like that. The Star, some things at like that 15-mile, like less than 20, but maybe a little more than 8 to 10 in that kind of range. Spend some time trolling around, man, and you'll probably find some stuff out there. It might be albies during the summer, it might be bonita. Kind of get your feet wet with that. I don't know how much experience you have, what kind of tackle you have, but that's where I would start personally, looking for mahi, looking for king mackerel, looking for bonita, looking for all those species, and you'll definitely have some fun. And then you can step up into the bigger stuff. R. Toombs said, hey, just want to say thanks for all the help last year starting my fishing journey. Class act. Thank you so much, bro. I really appreciate the business. Greg Johnson, Greg's in the house. He's from Iowa. He's the main man over there that kind of keeps the dream alive. Thank you for all the great products and obviously helping us out along the way. Without you, dude, business would not be as smooth as it is. Real Fishers says Scoot leaves it in the rod holder. Scoot knows, man. Keeping it classy in the rod holder. So any Wahoo under the 20-mile tuna? I'm not sure that question, but I'm assuming you're asking if there any Wahoo at the 20-mile line. I'd say in the summertime, sometimes for sure. I'm not sure your experiences with that. I have no experience catching Wahoo other than kind of like by freak of accident. At least I've never went out strictly targeting Wahoo. I've always just caught them whether in North Carolina trolling around or locally here, off of New Jersey and kind of just got a Wahoo. Cool. But it sounds like there's been more and more recently.
September's game one, 20 to 30 line. It's game one for Wahoos.
Cool.
Depending what kind of summer we have and what kind of water we have. In 2015, it was from August on, but as a general rule of thumb, September's the month, for Wahoo fishing.
Cool,
and that's,
cool.
If you're on target, one specific area, go around, triple Rex, Corvallis, try to, do it over structure.
There you go. Cool. So I just saw Schwack's thing saying you look like a bouncer got done serving.
Yeah, I was trying not to laugh.
That's what that chuckle was before. I just saw it now and I was chuckling. So we got the comedian in the house. One of these days we're gonna have him on live just for a fishing comedy session. So Drew's asking about the secret to daytime swordfish. I think you might have spilled some beans about swordfishing earlier. Maybe you got another tip you want to share, or Matt Haynes mentions any tips on catching big eyes under the pilot whales. I know a lot of trips I take out offshore, it always seems like you find the whales, you find the life, you find the tuna. And it seems like some guys will kind of stumble up on that say life and kind of get a little somewhat tired of it and move off. And I've noticed that certain captains kind of stay on it and just kind of stay in that area and pound it and pound it and pound it and kind of just you're committed and you're dedicated and you know that eventually the bite's going to come.
Yeah, so I mean it goes year to year. Back in 2014-15, we had extraordinarily a lot of pilot whales around, and those pilot whales were keyed in on the structure. I mean, it was the northeast corner of every canyon. So you didn't leave the pilot whales. I mean, you fished the northeast corner of every canyon, the notches of every canyon, and the pilot whales were there, and you just trolled around the whales until, the time was right, which was 45 minutes before dark to 2 hours after dark. The last 2 years, pilot whales really haven't been here, and the big eyes weren't on the structure. They were out, on the 500 line, and out there you're just trolling. You're not fishing structure. You're not fishing a certain area. You're just trolling for the marks, you're trolling for the bait marks, you're fishing the water most importantly. So it all depends on the year, If the pilot whales are in on the structure, that's where you want to be. If the pilot whales aren't there, then you got to look for it, And
Yeah.
when it's not on the structure, you're fishing the water. When the bait and the mammals are on the structure, even if the water's not there, you're fishing the structure. So every year is different.
Cool. So Fathom Fishing Charge, just so everybody knows, he's a local angler, local captain, but he also runs a boat out of Puerto Rico. So anybody out in Rincon, Puerto Rico, well, obviously once this whole pandemic clears out, you guys want to get on a nice trip to get away from the winter time in Jersey or the Northeast or anywhere. Obviously, Puerto Rico is an awesome place to go catch some fish, awesome place to go catch some waves. Reach out to Fathom Fishing Charters. He's dialed in with Wahoo down there. He buys a lot of tackle from us and takes it down there. He kind of just said Wahoo like to hang around the tuna. wherever they are. So I know as far as Wahoo goes, he's that's like his. I don't know if it's his main species, but I know he's always got some awesome footage and photos and video on his Instagram page. So if he wants to give him a follow, be sure to follow Fathom Fishing Charters. And if you haven't already, definitely follow Real Innovation Sport Fishing, because Jeff and his crew, they're always out and catching big fish. You kind of follow along. If you can't fish, you're stuck at work, you can always live through the great fishy life of Jeffy. So, it definitely gets me stoked up, dude, when you head out and, you post some pictures when you get back or whatever. And I'm always stoked to see the good fishy stuff. And it's even better when I'm on the trips too. I know we've had some awesome times, dude, from the treks to Cape Cod to fishing out in North Carolina and kind of everywhere in between. So
yeah, got my fingers crossed when get Cape Cod in this year.
yeah, definitely isn't looking it's not gonna be an easy one, right?
Nah, I mean we're still shooting for it, but we'll see what happens. I mean, it's an incredible place up there. I mean, you go, right off the beach, inside the beach, and you're catching 600-pound tuna fish. There's nothing like it in the world.
You got some good bottom fishing too.
Yeah, it's good. I got some good bottom
It's
fishing.
off the like Six Swag said, he doesn't need an invite; he'll be there. Cool. So, dude, you want to talk about any tackle you fish? I know. Cover your ear. So that's an inside joke. Inside joke for sure. Maybe we can talk about
inside
that
joke.
So, dude, we want to talk a little about the tackle you're fishing. Like, I know, a couple years ago, you jumped on with Shimano, and they kind of basically outfitted the whole boat and all, and you're rocking with them. What's the situation? Like, what's your game plan? Like, what's your love?
So we had Shimano's before we got the sponsorship with Shimano, and they're bulletproof. I mean, I've fished Akuma, I've fished Penn. I had no complaints with Penn. I fished them for years on my own personal boat. And then when I switched over to this boat, we had Shimano's, and it's the only manufacturer that I have no complaints with. Their stuff is bulletproof. We just redid our whole boat this past year, and I went with exactly the same equipment. I mean, there's nothing worse than being on a schedule where you have to fish and you have a tackle failure. Tackle failure just doesn't work in this line of business. You need your stuff top notch, and Shimano's that manufacturer that I can depend on and know that it's going to work day in, day out. I service my own stuff, and every winter I take my Shimano's apart, and they look like I just pulled them out of the box. I mean, they're incredible.
Yeah, they're definitely well known for being kind of the king in the saltwater market right now. I guess even the freshwater market too. And I know you go back 15, 20 years, really wasn't the case. I mean, they make great products. I mean, obviously in their early days, it's a different story, but as time went on, they really took it to a next level. Whether you're looking at the spin tackle, the lever gear, big game lever gear reels. I mean, their rod game is off the charts. And obviously even their lures. I mean, they make some awesome jigs, awesome plugs, but definitely their reels. I mean, I don't think you can find a better spinning reel than the Stella for big game fishing. And, obviously the Tiger and the Talicas for, doing your chunking and big game trolling and whatnot. You would say those are basically the three that you're mostly focused on in terms of say, reel models, right?
Yeah, I mean, now with this new class of big eyes that we're getting, them smaller big eyes, we're jigging a lot of them now, which we weren't years ago. And I have a couple of the Stellas, and last year I went to the Twin Powers, and I mean we jigged 15 big eyes to one trip, and Twin Powers are, I mean, incredible reels. There's, in my opinion, unless you're catching giant bluefins, the Twin Powers going to do everything Estella's going to do.
Right on. So talk to me. What are you filling these reels up with?
Cortland.
There you go.
You know, so we fill, you know, whether it's master braid or hollow core, all of our internationals, all of our 50s are all filled with, you know, 130 Cortland C16 hollow core. It's a dream splicing Cortland versus other, you know, hollow cores that are out there. It's very soft, very easy to splice.
That's important too, you know, because you're doing them
Very,
all yourself. There's a lot of reels, a lot of time.
yeah,
You know, quality hollow cores is such a game changer.
yeah. And some of, you know, some
Blake
of the
throws the fire.
manufacturers, you know,
Yeah,
they're
I was gonna say
fine to
Blake throws
splice the
the
front.
fire emoji up there. You know, he's always splicing the line, and if he always gets pissed off, you know, he starts getting some shit quality hollow core, you know, where it's not smooth. It's got a wonky weave every once in a while. There's the pick counts off, and the kind of the hollow core structure isn't perfect. It makes splicing an absolute nightmare. It's just a daunting task. So obviously, you know, because you're doing your own reels.
Yeah, and I mean some of the hollow quartz out there, you know, it's fine when you spool your reel and you splice it the first time, but then bring it back the next year after it's all stretched out and try to splice it. You know, it's a whole different ball game. Cortland, you know, no big deal. You go change it the next year. It's so soft you can just, you know, resplice it. No issues.
Cool. All right, man. Well, cool. It was awesome for you, you know, having the time for you to jump on here and talk fishing. I know I learned a lot. Had a great time. Definitely looking forward to kind of things settling down and opening up, and maybe we'll get out and do some fishing.
I hope, buddy. I hope we're ready to rock and roll. Boats fueled up, gears ready. Let's go. Find me some weather.
Yeah.
All
All right, brother. Thanks so much, man. Have a good night.
right, you too, bud.
Peace.
Peace.
Thanks, everybody, for checking us out. Have a good night.